And we're bound to feel vulnerable, like we're going to make a mistake. But the reality is that you have to take action. You have to move forward. You have to lean into being courageous and take that next step.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hello and welcome to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nuske. I'm your host. It's wonderful to have you with us today. We've got a very important topic to cover and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of value out of it. But before we jump into it, I'd just like to say thank you very much for those who have joined us for any length of time. Your support is wonderful and I'm reading all the feedback. And if this is your first time today, you are in for a treat. So strap in, let's jump straight into it. And on today's call, I have the pleasure of welcoming leadership and life coach David Garofoli. We're going to be talking about life coaching, men's career and life transitions, and how young men can get a meaningful start in life, both privately and professionally. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, Rick.
Yes, it's absolutely my pleasure to have you here. And as I've suggested, this is a very important topic that our young men throughout eons of time have faced. But one of the things that's different nowadays is we have the ability to help them out. And we're going to be talking about that with you at some length, David. But if you don't mind, could you tell us where you're calling in from today?
I'm calling from San Francisco.
Has that been home for a long time?
For 32 years.
Oh, wow. I've been to the Bay. I love it. You know what scared me? When I went to the Bay and the seals tried to attack us.
And the who tried to attack
the sea lions that are on the wharfs over there, and we were near the submarine. We were checking that out. I thought,
sure.
Oh, we'll go over here. No.
That's funny.
I love the environment over there. What do you love the most about it? Alcatraz, all that sort of stuff.
I love the fact that you've got a cosmopolitan city very close to nature. So you can, be downtown, going to the opera, and then, in 15 minutes, you can be out on the bay.
Yes.
Going across the Bay Bridge to Marin. I mean, and the vistas are just beautiful. There's so many places to hike and bike and sail and just, and that's what I love about San Francisco.
It's oftentimes when we live in a place, we forget how beautiful and wonderful it is. And just as a reminder, it is absolutely a beautiful place. And I think, is it Maverick Surf Beach is just down the way?
It is, yeah. I mean, that is, probably 15 minutes south of us.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, just looking at it, I'd never go out there myself. I'm not that crazy. How about you?
It's interesting. I've done some surfing in my life. When I first moved to California, I bought a surfboard and I was in Southern California and I was surfing a bit. When I moved up to San Francisco, I don't know, the water's just so cold. I mean,
and there's some big fish out there too, from what I hear.
Exactly.
We'll give that a miss. Now, in terms of what you do nowadays, do you have any, new hobbies or pursuits?
That's a great question. Actually, I have two new hobbies. I about a year and a half ago was certified to power up to a 34-foot powerboat. So I'm a member of a powerboat club here called Club Nautique, and I rent powerboats from them. So that's been really fun, being out on the bay.
Is that a racing thing, or is that pulling people behind it? What is it?
No. I mean, these are fairly large boats, right? So they're 32, 34 feet in length, and they've got quite a width. So they're, what we used to define as cabin cruisers, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're out boating, you're out going to different, parts and areas, around the bay. You're going to the East Bay, you're going to the North Bay, the South Bay. Just exploring.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I wonder how important it is for you, David, to get that relaxation time to recharge. Do you value that time?
I mean, I really do. In addition to boating, I'm one of my loves is travel. And, one of the reasons I've chosen being, a professional coach is that nowadays you can coach from anywhere.
Yes.
So, yeah, but absolutely. I mean, being able to, put the brakes on, take some time out for yourself and do those things that you value and do those things that you love is so regenerative. It just is.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the feedback. Now, in all
Sure.
of that, do you find that you like enjoy a movie? Do you enjoy music or socializing? What do you do in your social time?
Yeah. Again, great question. My partner and I, go out to dinner quite a bit. I mean, obviously with COVID, that was lessened, but we're
Bit
starting to go back out.
of a challenge.
Um, yeah, and we used to go to see a lot of movies. We haven't really gone to the theater, since COVID.
Mm.
But we really do enjoy the city, and we enjoy going to various plays that might be performing downtown. Going to the opera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Wonderful. Now, I know that there has been a massive psychological impact, not only with the goings on in the world right now, but with COVID. How did you find navigating that? And what are you hearing? What's the beat around town with regard to COVID and how it's impacting people?
yeah. Personally, I'm more of an extrovert than I am an introvert.
Mm.
I'm weighted towards the extroverted side. And personally, for me, it was really, 2020 was just really, really difficult because I wasn't able to, connect with my friends in a physical way.
Yeah.
And, generally that's, the kind of person that I am. I love being in front of people. I love, having fun and doing, various things. So that it really oppressed me, for quite a while.
Mm.
And I think how I transitioned out of that was just, doing more things on Zoom,
Yep.
which was a certain replacement for it, joining additional networking groups, connecting, with other coaches, and obviously, working with my clients.
Adapting.
And that opened things up for me personally.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Now, you talked about living in the Bay Area for pretty much all of your life. And
Right.
I wonder, I think in our early years, I call them the formative years, that we get a lot of impressions put into our brain computer, if you want to call it that, that, help us become the individuals we are today. Do you recall anything about your childhood that may have contributed to the man you've become?
It's a great question. Well, I think mainly my parents.
Mm.
They were both educators, and they really impressed upon us to be honest and to do the right thing. And as individuals that were involved in the community, they were kind of always doing the right thing. So they were great role models from that perspective.
Yep.
Which, yeah, which I think, went a long way to making me the man I am. But something quite specific was interesting. My mom gave me a book when I was probably 10 years old.
Mm.
And in the book, it basically said that, great people talk about ideas. Good people talk about things. Not so good people talk about other people.
Oh,
And that just seemed to really have an impact
that's
on me.
profound, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, certain things like that my parents did, and I mean, yeah,
I love
yeah,
it, and this is really good for context about the call, because it's one thing to talk about how you help others, but it's also important to, for that context, share a bit of your own life. So I really do appreciate it. Now, you've touched on books. Now, do you continue to enjoy books?
I do. I mean, a lot more of my time these days is spent reading, books about, psychology
Mm-hmm.
and coaching and, just continuing to, advance myself,
Yeah.
in my career. Currently I'm reading a book called Emotional 2.0, which is, talks about it, it breaks down, emotional intelligence, and it allows a person, there's an emotional intelligence test,
Mm-hmm.
and after you take that test, it will point out to you areas for improvement and how to improve them. So it's really, really, I'm finding it to be a great read.
So with yourself, you seem to me like you're a lifelong learner. Who is impressing you at the moment in your space?
Ah, that's a a great question.
Hmm. I'm sure there's dozens.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I, I don't want to sound political,
Mm-hmm.
but I I'm really impressed with the way that Biden is carrying himself during this Russian-Ukraine crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he's showing leadership, in the way that he's brought the U.S. and the European allies together. I think he's showing leadership in the way that, he's approaching the war in terms of giving $1.2 billion in aid, all kinds of, weaponry.
Mm.
But, the American people don't want people, don't necessarily, 2/3 of them don't want to be involved in the war. That they don't want to send military aids.
Mm.
They don't want to send the military,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
foot. So, he's my number one fan right now.
Thank you for sharing. These are very important insights. And, again, just going back a moment, like the books you read tell us a lot about you. And I think for those who are listening, you should get an indication of the caliber of David and his work. Now, tell me a little bit about your, I guess, your educational and professional background, because I know that you have a long and illustrious career.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, as a high schooler, I had a real fascination with electricity. And I was always a people person. I always really loved people,
Mm-hmm.
and thrived around people and enjoyed actually entertaining people, to my parents' dismay. Um, and, um, um, and I lost my train of thought for a second there.
No, I do it all the time. Don't you worry. Because I know that you were a software sales executive. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I got out of high school, and my parents were pushing upon me the fact that you need to become an engineer. You need to become an engineer. And because they were teachers and they thought that teachers weren't making enough money, so they pushed me and my brother into engineering. I became an electrical engineer, and from
Mm-hmm.
there I got into sales engineering. So I was selling technical computing systems to major corporations. So I had a long, history, 25 plus years, working in tech,
Yep.
mainly in software, working for startups to, the SAPs of the world. So, both as an individual contributor and as a manager of people. After about 25 years, I decided I wanted to kind of change some things up,
Mm-hmm.
and found myself having breakfast one morning and overhearing a realtor talk with another person about doing certain types of real estate development. And I became so intrigued, I went over to the realtor and I said, "How do you do this?" And the realtor actually, started teaching me. So for the next decade or so, I was buying properties here in the city of San Francisco, adding tremendous amounts of square footage, and taking them to the studs and then making
Yep.
them beautiful. And I put
Yep.
together a big team to do that. So
Wow.
that's kind of my history prior to coaching.
Mm-hmm.
In and around 2016, I was just looking for more.
Yep.
I wanted to be able to connect with people, in more of a heartfelt way, in a way that I could really help them, become more fulfilled, that I could help them, have a meaningful life for them.
Yeah.
And so I looked at, the prospects of being a therapist. I looked at being a school teacher. And it kind of, I found myself in coaching because I felt coaching would give me the greatest opportunity to leverage my business acumen and help people at the same time. So, so I settled
wonderful. That's excellent. Thank you again for sharing. Now, I wonder if you've touched on money just very briefly earlier. Now, I wonder if you could go back to your young man self and ask yourself, well, what's more important, money or satisfaction? What would you tell me?
Satisfaction. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt. And I'll tell you, if I had had a coach when I was 30 years old, I probably wouldn't have gone down the business path. I probably would have got in, to being a psychologist. There's no doubt in my mind, but I got trapped. I wanted to build a financial infrastructure, and there's nothing bad about that. That's actually quite positive. But I got trapped, with real estate and cars and, really couldn't seem to get out for quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Just trapped there. Yeah. I often think as time goes by, when I get to the end of days for myself, what sort of legacy I'd like to leave behind. Have you ever thought about that? And what do you want to leave behind? What's your legacy, do you think?
I think my legacy is really simple. I want to leave behind as many, happy individuals as I possibly can. I mean, and it's, for me, it's not about, quantity, it's about quality. It's about, being that coach to individuals that really need help, that are really stuck. And whether they're, younger people that, for whatever reason are having a challenge kind of getting themselves going and they're really failing to start, or whether it's a middle-aged person that's going through a career, or a relationship, related issue, or whether it's leadership coaching, which is, when I work with individuals, managers, and or executives to help improve their performance in business. So
yeah, that's great feedback. Thank you again. Now, we go through many transformational moments throughout our life, and you started out as the engineer, and now you're doing what you're doing now. As an engineer, that's a superpower as far as I'm concerned, because it takes a lot to raise the bar and get to that level. But what do you reckon your superpower is today, Dave?
It's a great question.
The thing you do best.
I love that question. I think my superpower is, my ability to listen, my ability to be compassionate, my ability to really give and be kind.
Yep.
These are fundamental things, but, as human beings, what do we need? What do we need to grow? We need love. We need support. We need attention. And we can't always do it on our own. Many times we can't do it on our own. It's just not feasible. I mean, you look at the most successful entities and, how many people do they have on their team? I mean, look at the San Francisco Warriors, the basketball team. There's 8 or 9 coaches there, right?
Yeah,
that are coaching the team. So, yeah.
That's great. I know that you would have had to have exposed yourself to some level of risk, David, when you decided to move away from the corporate world and, relative comfort and safety, how did you manage that, I guess, the transition away from there into coaching? Was it a rough time? Was it a challenging time psychologically for you?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
No.
And it was a difficult time transitioning from technology to real estate. I mean, because you lose that social community of your work colleagues, your management.
Yeah.
And you're kind of on your own. You're on your own to create that again for yourself, which is what I did in the real estate realm. But transitioning into coaching, yeah, I mean, building a coaching business takes time because most of your, you know, clients are going to come from referrals, and referrals, take time. You have to have a certain base of customers in order to get referrals. I mean, coaching is similar to therapy in that regard, where, most of the time, if you're going to find a therapist to see a therapist, you're going to ask your friends, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
who have you seen? Who do you like? And the same thing goes with coaching. So transition was difficult, but I'm really enjoying what I'm doing these days because I'm so connected, and I'm reaching out and through various networking groups, through the different coaches I connect with, and having a client base. It's made all the difference in the world, but it took time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I've been at this for what, 4 years.
Yep.
And
time flies, doesn't it?
It does, and it just takes time, So
let's talk about the people that you help, and one of the, I guess, probably the best place to start, given the world we're living in right now, is a lot of young men take their problems and they hold it close to their chest. I think it's changing. I think there are some very progressive individuals out there who are willing to share, care, cry, and feel alive because of it. What do you say to people who think it's not okay to talk about their problems?
Well, part of the reason, I've focused on being a men's coach is because I feel, men are an underserved community in terms of, therapy, in terms of coaching. Why do I say that? Because men, okay, we've been taught through, toxic masculinity that we have to be self-sufficient. We have to do it on our own. And it's a sign of weakness to ask for help. Nothing, absolutely nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, the example that I gave before, you look at the most successful people, they have teams around them that are helping them. They don't do it on their own. I mean, yeah, they're making decisions. They're taking all this input and they're synthesizing it and they're making decisions, but they've got all of this help.
All this help.
And so, I use that analogy a lot with younger men because, again, we've been raised, with this toxic masculinity, and one of those is this whole self-sufficient, aspect. So
there's certainly a lot to unwrap here, and I'd love to talk about, if we could momentarily, David, the impact that social media and marketing in general is having on young men and their ability to make clear decisions for themselves. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a challenge, right? I mean, I think so many, men and women as well, are glued to their phones these days. I mean, that phone is the be all end all. And, a lot of times when you're glued to the phone, if you're with other people, you're actually not connecting with those other people. And, that in and of itself is a real issue, right? I mean, you need to be present. You need to be engaged with that other person and not multitasking, like talking with 4 or 5 other people on your phone, whether it's on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever it might be,
The next new thing.
Yeah. So, I think that, has had a significant impact, on younger men for sure.
Absolutely. Do you think that they can unlearn the things that are what you refer to as a lie? And I'm wondering if you can expand on why you think that most people are living a lie.
It's a, you, I think as human beings that we're not 100% truthful with ourselves. And I'm not saying all people are living a lie. I'm saying many people are living a lie.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that their whole life is a lie, but I'm saying there are perhaps aspects of their lives that are a lie. And it's interesting, when I, test this on with people, they all agree with me, and there's no one that's disagreed with me. So, that statement, that many of us are living a lie, the antidote to that is to really sit down with yourself and, analyze yourself and ask yourself, where am I living a lie? And once you identify that, how do I change that lie? What do I need to do? How do I do it? Do I need to work with a coach? Do I need to work with a therapist? Who do I need to work with that helps me? Or maybe I can do it on my own. Stop living this particular lie. Because if you're living a lie, it means you're not living your life in line with your values, with the core part of who you are.
Yeah, that's wonderful feedback, sage advice. Now, in the literature that I've been blessed to be given access to, you talk about why fear and shame drive us more than courage and vulnerability. I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Sure. I mean, being on a podcast, I'm sure when you first started being a podcast host,
Tongue twister.
I mean, there was fear there, right? I mean, when we're approaching and trying something new that we haven't done a lot before, we generally, have fear. And, it's really, and who does such a wonderful job, talking about this particular topic is Brene Brown. I don't know if you know Brene.
Not heard.
Yeah. She has an incredible podcast that talks about, fear and vulnerability.
I'll have to listen in.
Yeah. She's amazing. She's amazing. But, it's a matter of, again, part of the human condition, when we're faced with new challenges or new opportunities, it's bound to be a little scary, and scary, we're bound to feel vulnerable, like we're going to make a mistake. And what's going to happen if we make a mistake? Oh my God. But the reality is that, and this is a big part of coaching, you have to take action. You have to move forward. You have to lean into being courageous, and take that next step and see what happens. And you'll recover if there's a problem. You absolutely will. And you've got your support network, hopefully. So, it's a matter of doing it and seeing how you do.
Is this come back to that adage that what doesn't kill you can only make you stronger, do you think?
I think that's right to a certain extent.
Now you talked about leaning in, and we've also talked about taking action and having at least one coach or mentor throughout your life. Now I'm wondering, there'd be some young men on this show today listening in
Sure.
with anticipation of how best to go to connect with you, and what is the process? What is the process when somebody talks to you? What do you take them through?
Yeah, I mean, that's another great question. It's pretty straightforward. What I will do is have about a 15-minute call with that person just to clearly understand what their needs are, just to ensure that, I'm the best person to help them. If I'm not, then I'll let them know. Okay. Most of the time I am, but that's not always the case. So I'm checking in with them. What is the issue that you need help with? Okay. And I'm giving them a little feedback on my background. And I'm also, trying to understand, well, why coaching now? Right? Like what is motivating you to seek a coach now? And so assuming that that's all positive, and I feel like the person is motivated and does want to move forward with their life, I will do a free sample session. So
Yeah.
I will actually do 60 minutes, okay, worth of coaching. And part of that is I'm helping people understand what coaching is and what it isn't. And I'm helping them understand a certain, coactive coaching model that I've been trained on.
Yep.
And I'm then coaching them. So they actually get a bite of the apple. They get to taste, okay, what my coaching style is like, okay, and they get a taste of making a potential change.
That transformation.
So, yeah, exactly. And so that's really my process. And
I love the fact that it is simple, and oftentimes, you hear people overcomplicating what doesn't need to be overcomplicated. I'm sure there's enough going on in the young man's mind right at the second when they make contact with you to, not to add more complexity. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. I mean, I would agree that, look, if you're stuck, seek help, seek a coach. Don't remain stuck. You don't have to be stuck. Life can be fulfilling. Life can be meaningful. There's lots of reasons why people get stuck, and a lot of those reasons are not their own fault, but they fall prey to that and they stay stuck. It's like, don't stay stuck. Reach out for help. Because there's lots of people that want to help you. There just are, and it's a matter of finding them.
And that's comforting, just, in your isolation and, in desperation almost, if you're in that sort of quiet space and you don't think there is anyone, just know for fact that there is. And that's really reassuring and wonderful to hear. Now, I'm sure that you're finding that the people that you work with, young males in particular, that they build somewhat of an ongoing relationship with you as a positive role model, positive male role model. Do you find that?
Yeah, absolutely. As a coach, you really do wear a number of different hats, and one of those hats, is a mentor hat.
Yeah.
And you're there, really, helping a person. In the coaching that I do, we hold that the individual is naturally creative, resourceful, and whole, and they're not broken. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that they know best how to solve their problems. With that said, we have, ways in which we brainstorm with clients so that they can take from me, my, years of experience, my coaching, knowledge.
Yep.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Wow, there's lots to think about here. I know that there's a lot of great content, really, really good content on your beautiful website. I love the home screen, especially. It just makes me feel so calm. And so I know I'm in the right place. Now, David, on that,
Yep.
when people want to connect with you, is there a number of ways? There is one way. I'm wondering if you could share how they can make contact.
Sure. So you can go to my website, which is garofoliconsulting.com. So that's GAROFOLI consulting, CONSULTING.com. And you'll see a contact button on the website. So you can reach me that way. You can send me an email at coach@garofoliconsulting.com, or you can call me at 415-656-9754. 415-656-9754.
Thank you, David. Now, if you're on the call today, as is normal practice, I'll be making sure that all of the contact details back to David are available for you below this post, no matter where you see it. You'll be able to get back to David. Now, if you're watching this and you're feeling isolated, you're feeling alone, you're feeling like you need help, doesn't matter if you're a senior executive, doesn't matter if you're an apprentice, doesn't matter if you're just somebody off the streets, it doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is. I know that David is there and ready and prepared to help you. And David, what a wonderful call. Thank you so very much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you, Rick. Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for allowing me to, get my word out. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.